Henry, it's good to speak to you. Obviously, it's a milestone year for AIMS, with it being 30 years. So we thought it would just be a good idea to chat to you about what you may have learned in the last 30 years of franchising. So first of all, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you. It's all very good.
Good. So firstly, would you mind giving us a very quick breakdown of your background and career to date before we talk about franchising?
Okay, AIMS is part of a group of companies. We are a family office, which means we're a family business, which was started by my brother and myself. And we're focusing on a number of activities for SMEs. And about 30 odd years ago, as part of our finance broking activities, we constantly came across accounts, because in finance you analyze accounts and financial data. And we picked up a common denominator, and that was that a lot of clients moaned about their accountants. And as we digged further, we picked up that the fees were astronomically high in relation to what we perceived was value. So we just started investigating and see, could there be a modern approach to accountancy which is received in the marketplace. And this is how the AIMS idea started.
Okay. Fantastic. And there must have been some sort of teething issues at the beginning of adopting a franchise model, I guess, or were there?
Well, it was the franchise model and the product model. So when we started with AIMS, remember 30 years ago, a lot of things which are completely obvious to you are completely alien, or the other way around, depends how you want to look at it. So, you had a very stale professional mentality. Your clients had to come to the accountants. The accountants used to say, I know what's best for my client, and you just go and do it. And I'm doing you a favor. Or you had to, I remember my funniest story was an accountant meeting the client to discuss the year end, then going for lunch with the client, which the client paid, of course, and then charging the client for the time spent at lunch.
Wow.
So it was a different world. So there was one aspect. The reason why we moved into franchising rather than just using employed, we wanted to create an entrepreneurial culture, because we said we're putting in product innovation into our concept. I'd like direct debits or not charging by the hour, which then was a completely revolutionary thought.
Sure.
And we just felt that the people who will help us carry this off need to have a certain entrepreneurial motivation mentality, who look at accountancy also as a business rather than just as a professional old-fashioned business approach. And that's why we then also chose the franchise model. So those two things are actually interlinked.
Sure. Yeah. And do you think there's something specific about accountancy that lends itself to franchising, or do you think anything can be franchised as long as the right people are involved?
No, I mean, franchising benefits if an industry is fragmented. So in other words, it benefits then from a strong brand presence in the marketplace.
Okay.
It also is important that your income stream is very much based on recurring income rather than ad hoc income. So take, for example, solicitors who work far more on projects and ad hoc. I don't think a franchise model would work. Whereas, your traditional franchise, you think of McDonald's and our business like this, your steady flow of income is quite important. So that's why we looked at that avenue.
Fine. Interesting. And I guess over the last 30 years, you may or may not have found something in particular that makes for a very successful franchisee, or are there lots of different things?
There is no specific one characteristic. I mean, human beings are much more complex creatures, and we don't want people to be pressed into little sort of Chinese widgets and everybody is the same. The key is it's really a combination of a number of factors, and some can be stronger, some can be weaker. So important is people need to enjoy communication, and that means they need to go out, meet clients. Some call it marketing. We don't even want to use the word that they need to be happy to do marketing. It's just communication is important. The second is you need to accept that somebody created a system, and there is no 100% perfect system. And anybody who tells you different is telling you fibs. Right? And so you have to accept that you don't have 100% of what you want, but you have to trade off. The third is you need to embrace, or need to be able to embrace change, because businesses change and the frequency of change is increasing, not decreasing. So, if you were to look at our 30 years, we changed sort of in symbolic language, maybe 2-3 times certain aspects of the first 10 years. We now have to introduce changes every 6 to 12 months. I'm talking symbolically. So you need to be able to accept those things and evolve and not stand still, right? Like the McDonald's and all other good franchises, their menu evolves, their client base evolves, and you need to be happy with that. So those are the 3 main things. The fact that you have to be competent, that you have to know what your product is, that you have to be a good accountant, that you're diligent, the famous hard work comes into it. These are all preconditions, but they are second level. Right? So I'm not dismissing them.
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting what you say about the process, the one that you've developed that people obviously need to buy into. Has there ever been an occasion where people have come on board and not really bought into it and it hasn't worked out?
Of course. I mean, AIMS is like any other organization and is subject to the famous bell curve.
Indeed.
Right? And we would just be fools to assume that we are something different, that every franchisee loves us and every franchisee thinks it's the best. Life doesn't work like this. So there will be people who struggle. There's also changes. People's motivation change over the period. Circumstances changes. I use sometimes in my meetings, I say, just assume somebody wins the lottery, £1 million. Their attitude to work will change. and not because they're nasty, it's just normal, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course.
So you just have to accept it as a franchisor as well. Then you just have to address it and deal with it.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Well, look, Henry, I'll just ask one more question and let you get on with the day. But obviously, AIMS over the last 30 years has helped around about 500 accountants take control of their own destiny, start their own practices. Why do you think your recruitment strategy has been so successful over that time period?
Because we don't oversell, we don't pressurize, we don't offer special deals 2 for the price of 1 if you sign by Friday. We have a process. We insist that every potential franchisee goes through a process, comes to a workshop meeting online these days, and then has a personal meeting with us, speaks to existing franchisees. We insist, right? It's not optional that a potential recruit speaks to existing franchisees, and we're not party of that conversation, but we insist that they do, so they get information from their side of the fence. We're trying to be honest. We're trying to tell our franchisees that AIMS is not going to be a wonder pill. They come, sign a contract, get 2 yellow pills, and success will be theirs, right? And so we try to be as honest as we possibly can and provide information, and the decision to join is theirs, not ours.
Yeah.
And that has looked after us, and as we stress as well, quite often AIMS works well for a great number of people, and that does not mean it works for all people.
Cool.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here anymore.
Very true. Brilliant. All right. Well, Henry, look, I think it's been great talking, catching up as always. Thank you very much for your time. We'll let you crack on now, but again, really appreciate your time today.
Pleasure talking to you. Bye.
You too. See you soon.